Okay, the Glycine Combat Sub 42. Now, this watch just came in. It is my very first Swiss watch. And I'm pretty blown away. Now, I'm operating behind the camera. So, let me move this out of the way. Now, this watch uses a Swiss ETA 2824 movement, but it's heavily modified by Glycine. Nice smudges. So it's modified by Glycine to meet their standards, and based on the reviews, it's one of the best performing ETA movements there is. Now, this is why I chose the Glycine over other brands. Number one, the price point. This watch was $375. It's not too much more expensive than my Seiko SKX. In fact, my Seiko SKX with some modifications I have more money in that. So let me get the caliper and show you some dimensions. If I can do this from behind the camera. Dang, that's difficult. Okay, so we have a case diameter, whoops, move it, 42 millimeters. And all this, there's other reviewers that do a much better job of this than I. Oh, for Pete's sake. Okay, 49 millimeters. In fact, if I get it on where it's supposed to be, there you go, 50 millimeters lug to lug. The lug size is, blessed be the name. Let's do that. Let's do it that way. Well, I just suck at this. That's not an actual lug size. Whoops, wrong direction. It's 22 millimeters. Blessed be the name. Yeah, I'm just uncoordinated. Okay, but what the selling point on this watch was definitely the case thickness. 10.5 millimeters thick. That's thinner than any, I mean, you know, the Quartz stuff is going to be thinner than that. Citizen Eco Drive's why I like them so much, because they're thin. But for a completely Swiss-made watch, automatic watch, to be less than 11 millimeters thick is pretty astonishing. You don't find that. You don't find that anywhere else. Now, so. And what amazed me is as and I'm not going to actually do it because you can't feel, you as a viewer can't feel, obviously, through the computer screen, but the way this watch unthreads and the way it feels to wind and the way the crown feels when you pull it out into its click marks is just a million times better than my Seiko SKX, for example. My Seiko SKX, I paid $215 for it, and have about another $100 worth of mod parts, or a little more than that actually. And the Seiko is a great looking watch now that it's modded. Well, I mean, it was good looking stock, but you get my drift. But it just feels cheap. It feels cheap. From the factory, the bezel didn't line up. Everything has the bezel on the SKX feels a little like a cheap ratchet. If you ever worked with cheap tools, it kind of has that feeling about it. The bracelet on this Seiko is a joke. It's basically junk. Just throw it in the garbage. And the crown and such feels sort of delicate when you're setting the time and such. And I don't handle a bunch of high-end watches all the time, but setting this time and date on the Seiko SKX, it's just a little bit precarious. but this not that way. It feels very, very well engineered, well machined. Nothing's wiggling around. The crown screws back on like effortlessly, like it has no inclination of a cross thread. The end links are solid. Oh, I still have the wrapper on that. The clasp is this part right. This piece of metal is pressed, and that thing is pressed, but the clasp itself is milled out of stainless steel, which gives it so much. I mean, look, it ain't no droopy, no none of that. It is, the fit and finish is astonishing. The bezel is a 60 click bezel, and it as tight as Dick's hat band. I mean to tell you, it's so tight actually that it's kind of a pain to use. Like if you were really to use the dang thing, it would be kind of aggravating. The best bezel that I've ever felt is a Citizen ProMaster. There's just no doubt about that. And I'm sure there's some other, I'm sure there's some other bezels that are really good quality, but I would rather have it tight like this than the Seiko SKX, which they ship them way out of line, like they're cross-eyed, and clickety clackety ratchety, just kind of garbage. And my aftermarket one is not any better. So, but this is super, super tight, spot on alignment. I mean, spot on. I'm blown away, really, at $375. In fact, kind of spoiled. I cannot imagine getting any better quality than this if I was to buy, say, a Squale, that's north of $600. And I love the way they look, but they're super, super thick. They're Swiss. I'm sure the Squale is a good piece, but I cannot imagine it being any better quality than this Glycine. The only thing that this watch is really missing is a ceramic bezel. But that's one thing that the Squale has, is a ceramic bezel. But this aluminum kind of contributes to its look, to its sort of metallic look. I'll just be careful not to beat the dang thing up. But apart from that, I'm not sure how you could get any better. My blinds are open. I'm not going to be able to turn the lights out completely for a lume shot, but I'll get it underneath the light right here and charge it. And let's at least do that. So you can see it's Swiss Luminova. It's going to be jam up. The pip on top is shining bright. Just a fantastic, fantastic way to spend $375. You think I'm wrong? Fight me.